Okay, good afternoon and welcome. Sorry for the delay. My name is Dr. Fred, as you've heard a few times today, and it is an honest, dear pleasure to be here with you. And before we do anything this afternoon, before I teach anything, was anyone here this morning as well? A few of you were in this crowd this morning? Was anyone here? Okay, this is all new people. Good. So this is, initially this was meant to be sort of the second half, but I think we can alter it enough to have this be the first session for sure. So before we do anything else, let's just take a moment and actually arrive. You know, we've just eaten lunch, we just had this thing out there with the door, and stuff happens in life, and life throws us little curveballs, we trip over ourselves, and we have little calamities and big calamities to deal with. We have responsibilities and occasions and issues to take on. And really, I just want to take a moment and actually arrive here with you, because most of us really don't arrive anywhere anymore. If you really think about it, we just show up physically, and you know, the rest of us is really just somewhere else. And you might be noticing that right now as well. It's hard to stay present. Life is hard. There's a lot of issues to deal with, and it's not simple to stay focused. It's not simple to stay where you are. So if you're willing to just kind of take a step towards that, I'd like to ask you to do something with me. And that is a simple thing that you're doing all day and probably don't pay attention to. That is simply to take a breath. So I'd like you to kind of get yourself dignified, get yourself sitting comfortable. You're going to take the next breath intentionally. We're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to hold it at the top. I'll be joining you, and then we're going to hold it just for a few seconds at the top and just notice our experience. So, we ready? Here we go. One deep breath in. Hold it. Take into consideration everything that's happening in your life. Good, bad, right, wrong, true, false, ugly, beautiful. Go on. And then just let it out. It turns out that might be the most important thing you do all day. Our job this afternoon is just simply to return to life. It's going to take something. You're going to have to be focused. The way we're going to do that is really listen to our inner self. Because awareness is beautiful, as we just heard. But if it stays in your head, nothing changes. So let me introduce myself a little bit. My name's Dr. Fred. I am a psychiatrist. And I've been a psychiatrist for about 36 years. And before that, I was in the mental health field anyways. That was after I dropped out of college for the second time. See, I wasn't aligned with the way things were being taught to me. I grew up in a family in chaos and disarray. I had two brothers, 10 and 14 years older than me, and I had my two parents. And as you hear, there had been kind of a span of time between my second brother and me. And I was called on to bring joy and unity and peace to a family that was in deep conflict. My brothers told me I did a good job for a couple years anyways. Not my whole life, for sure. But my job was to be a rolling bundle of joy, to be a place, someone who could listen to all four of them and make some sense of it and bring peace. Does anyone relate to that? Maybe it wasn't 10 years, but you came to the family and you were called on. I was called on to be a healer. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing now for 68 years. And I learned very early that communication was the goal. There was nothing stronger, nothing more powerful, nothing that could move the needle like communication could. See, when I cried, I changed the room. And when I laughed, people laughed with me. If I was funny, if I was smart, I could actually make people change the way they were being just simply by being me. I wasn't great at it. I would watch my parents and my brothers speak, and I think, someday when I'm a big boy, I'm going to learn how to be a communicator as well. I literally vividly remember being in my playpen and watching my brothers and parents speak and just thinking, I want to learn how to communicate. And, I heard in school that they teach you stuff. So I figured that would happen in school. But lo and behold, I learned in school that isn't what they teach you. They don't teach you how to communicate. They teach you how to copy other people and to do it. If the more you do it just like them, the more you're allowed to pass with high grades. But I nevertheless did my very best. I was precocious for sure. My brothers taught me, things that most of my classmates had never heard of. I knew about sports, I knew about sex, I knew about drugs, I knew about rock and roll, I knew about things that most people didn't know. And, my peers, they knew about like picking their nose and throwing blocks and taking naps. And I knew about that stuff too, but I knew these other things. So I went to school thinking that would happen and was disappointed early. But I nevertheless kept talking. There was no elementary school teacher who forgot having Fred as a student, that's for sure. And as it went on, I went into middle school, or junior high as they called it, and I expected to learn there, but it even got worse. Then I expected to learn in high school, but it even got worse. And I started just like being disgusted, so disappointed with the school system. I just stopped going. I just skipped so many classes. In 11th grade, I skipped over 200 classes. And in 12th grade, I decided, well, what am I going to do if I don't do school? So I got to find a way to do school. And I maneuvered my way into getting into college. I was good in math. So I found my way into the admissions department at the University of Michigan, and I found myself in Ann Arbor. So I went to Ann Arbor thinking, now this is going to be a place where I finally learn how to communicate. And Ann Arbor was a place to learn how to communicate, but not the University of Michigan. So I was out in the streets and I was doing what I was doing. I was hating school as much as ever, and I dropped out. And by dropping out, it was like a declaration that how people are getting taught how to do things was not going to align with who I was. So I got on a bus and I went to Berkeley, California, to learn how to be myself. And I had a good summer, but it was unsustainable. And then I went back to school when my family told me there was one more thing, a new industry called computers, basically, actually, that they thought I would be good at. And I went back to Michigan because that was the only computer in all of Michigan was in Ann Arbor. And I didn't like that either, so I dropped out again. I was like, I don't know how to do this life thing, but it's not going to happen with school. So my mom said that was okay. I told her I'm not going to school ever again, under no conditions. She's like, okay, well, you got to get a job. So she got me a job working in a state mental health facility for adolescent boys. And I thought I would actually only keep that job for about 3 weeks, because that's how long orientation was. And so I could get 3 weeks of full pay and buy myself a car and then drive around the country and figure out what my life was about. Literally, that's how it went. And after the 3rd week, my friend Paul, who later became a really big friend, guilted me into going up to the floors. Like, dude, if you quit, then I'm going to have to quit. I got a family to take care of, blah, 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 whatever he said. I was like, okay, Paul, I'll go up. And my thinking then, 3 more weeks. I'll do 3 weeks of this because now I'll have 6 paychecks. I'll buy a later model car and I'll drive around the country. So that's what I did. And frankly, since that day, I've been waiting for those 3 weeks to be over. So I got 46 years in the field. And what happened during that time when I went up to MetaView 5 on that 4th week was that I finally learned how to communicate. And I was getting paid for it. Because all these kids needed was to be heard as human beings. And I didn't know how to treat them any other way. That's all they needed. That's all you need, by the way. I don't know any of you by name, but I do know that that's what you need. You need to be heard for who you are. You need to be seen for who you are and who you're not. There is no more powerful medication or treatment anywhere in the human race than that. After all, isn't that the roots of love? We say love makes the world go round. You heard the Beatles singing that? That's the whole deal, is being heard and seen for who you are and who you're not. So, how did I end up going to being a psychiatrist if I wasn't going back to school at all? Well, there I was in the state hospital, and I was like, this crap is going in the wrong direction. Now, this is before Prozac and all that. Prozac really changed the world. For you the old enough to know that, Prozac just altered the whole mental health scene. And I wasn't going to allow that to happen. I went into medical school as a hero, self-proclaimed hero. Like, I'm going to turn this thing around. I'm not going to allow it to go the direction it's headed. And I'm going to bring communication into a field that's given up its respect for communication. So that's how it went, and that's the roots of what I'm about to show you today. Now, you can imagine that being in the field, being spat out of the field, out of the medical school and the residency and the fellowship and all the training, I was misaligned. I was living a duplicitous life. And what I mean is, what I knew was right was not what was being asked of me. But now I was a doctor, now I was being respected and counted on to do things the way they wanted me to do it. So I find myself like, teetering on the fence, basically. Asked to do things that I was not aligned with, remembering that I had raised my right hand and said something like, first do no harm. I was now being asked to do harm at times, what I knew was not right for my people. And it took a while for me to actually figure out that I can't keep living life that way. I literally can't keep living life. I literally can't. Have any of you ever found yourself doing stuff that is entirely misaligned with what you know is right? Who wants to share a place in their life where you have found a time, or maybe even like today, where you're doing things where you know you are misaligned with what you know is right? Anybody got the guts to share something like that? Not all at once. I can't choose all of you.
Well, I'm a school teacher, and I have students who have, the majority of our school population are not, they're not able to read. So because their comprehension and critical thinking skills are so low, they continue to score low on state exams and standardized tests and different things, and schoolwork evades them. And of course, that brings in behavior issues. So because of that reason, we have so many issues going on in our schools. And I'm an educator, and I know that the kids basically just really need to know how to read. And every day that I'm there and not able to do that because the policies say I have to do this, I know that I'm doing a disservice to this entire generation that's coming up, or generations that have come through my classrooms. And the one or two times that I was able to make that kind of difference for a student made me feel like I was actually living in the purpose of being an educator. But all the other times, just, it makes me feel like I am not able to really contribute what the students need
Yeah.
for their life.
Yeah.
And they're gonna turn out not able to do certain things for many years and probably have to go through many different phases and stages in order
Okay.
to get what
I get you. So what's the impact of being somebody who's not doing what you know is right?
you feel unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Right. Misaligned might be the word that comes out, right? People relate? You don't have to share your thoughts, but yeah, let's hear it. Thank you for that. If you can speak up just a little.
I think when you talk about being misaligned, I feel that my 30 years of being in social work, I've been misaligned, and I continue to do it because I have to be in the space where I can make a difference.
Exactly. Exactly. So sometimes people ask me too. Thank you for that. How did I stay in the field if I'm misaligned? And there's a couple things. There's this idea that, well, I got to have a job, got to pay bills and all that, right? People can relate to that too. Sometimes you just hate your job. Does anyone here actually hate their job? Are you willing to raise your hand and say you just really don't like what you do with life? Like if money wasn't an object, would you be doing exactly what you're doing?
Thank you. I was about to say the same thing.
Right. So there's a fair degree of misalignment just in that question. Because what are you doing living this life not doing what you would be doing? You got one life. So we're going to talk a little bit about this misalignment and returning to life, like being aligned with who you are. Because if our goal is to communicate effectively, we should be who we are in the first place. Otherwise, who are we introducing to these other people? We're introducing ourselves as a fraud in some ways to who we really are. And we're attempting to be somebody that we're not in order to protect the person that we are. And it's painful. There's some misalignment. So we're going to look at some techniques. Yes, ma'am.
Because what if you feel like you missed your calling? So
Missed your calling. What did you do instead?
Well, I feel like I should have been an athlete. I was supposed to be an athlete.
All right.
But due to family and support, things like that, things didn't go that way. So I'm a carpenter now, and I like my job. But if I had a choice, this wouldn't be but I'm too old to
Too old.
become an athlete. So when people be like, oh, what you doing with yourself, and that, or you're not happy with I'm happy with construction, but I'm mainly happy because of the money. But
That's right.
if I had to do or feel good in what was really for me, it would be that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel I'm kind of lost with that because it's bothering me.
Yeah.
Like, my life doesn't have to be this hard. It didn't have to be this hard when I had everything kind of lined out for me.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I imagine the impact is similar to what we talked about earlier, the impact of sort of pain and misalignment. Yeah? All right, let's take a look.
You gonna say something to that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Look, when you're not being who you are, you get to really face this, especially like in something like where you're in, as you mentioned, what made you happy was the idea that you're making enough money as a carpenter, right? I mean, that's sort of what's you're sort of allowed to continue because you make enough money to keep your, keep your bills paid.
Right.
But there's a massive misalignment there, really, in the end, because your heart is not being fed who you really came here to be in your world. And I guess the thing I would want to say to that when asked, at this point, is that we're all experiencing something like that. We've all been pushed to start doing things that are misaligned with what we would do if certain things weren't our priorities. And we give up on the priority of being our true self. And it sounds like
Me, I don't have the chance to go back. I can't.
you feel like you're too old now to go do whatever what were you doing?
I mean, I thought I was going to be the first woman in the NBA, but I wasn't even thinking about a WNBA. I just thought I was going to be the first woman in the NBA.
Okay.
But yeah, life, I was out my home early, so I was 17 with my own apartment, working, still going to school. It was a lot, so I couldn't go to college after. I had to maintain living.
Yeah.
And it just went this way.
So I mean, so would you be comfortable being like a coach?
No, I don't think I have all the, no.
All right. Let me show you something that just happened here because I think it's really important. Everyone started rooting for you to be aligned. As if they're aligned. As if they know the route to alignment. Right? That's what we do. We root for other people. We can't even do it ourselves.
Well, I think
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think the sense is like if that was her true passion, if that was her passion and that's her calling, the closest thing, because she's saying right now she's not able to be. She's not able to be.
Not going to play in the NBA.
Yeah. But if that is what your passion is, and for me, like I work in banking, I love to see the success of my clients. Like I would always get coaches award when I was playing sports. So being able to give back and to bring people to where you had wanted to be is finding fulfillment in that, and that's where the collective goes to. Yes, you're not doing specifically, but there is a path that is close to be more in alignment of what you want to do.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. So I think what I hear you saying is something about being of service as well. That there's something that if you can't do it for yourself, doing it for others might even be a higher calling. Creating a space and a possibility of being there, bringing it back, becomes a possibility. And again, what I want to say here is another version of what I just said, which is it's a universal issue. You also have something along, maybe not so dramatic as, you thought you were going to be the first woman in the NBA, but you have something going on where you kind of feel like it's too late. You missed your boat. You can't do it anymore. It's no longer in your wheelhouse. But you can find ways to find alignment. Okay, we have a lot to go through, and this is what happened last time too. I'm deeply interested in everybody's view, and we have about 40 more minutes. So, but please, sir, please continue, please. What do you have?
I was just going to add to the complete opposite of what she went through. What about those who choose the career path and the profession itself changes trajectory against their own will? So whatever person in here went to school to be a teacher, that's their passion, but now
you can't do what you thought you were going in. Yeah.
What you set out to teach.
Exactly. Yep. Again, that happens as well. Life hits us. Life is hard. It's challenging. There's obstacles. There's hurdles. Yeah. Yeah. And what are you supposed to do when the pathway to get what you came here for gets blocked? Where's the detours? How are you going to find self-satisfaction? How are you going to find yourself being useful and intentional? That's really, that's what we're here to do. Okay? Yeah.
I have to go, I'm sorry, but she's gonna get your information so we can talk. I'm going to get my son.
Okay.
What I was listening to was awesome, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sorry.
If you have to leave, you should tell the leader how great he was. I think that's...
Great exit.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening next. I really want you to get my emotions. I really want to hear from every one of you, and I can't. So I hope you get that. It doesn't matter in any way of cutting you off. We just have time as a constraint. Now we get to live it. What I would really like is for these next 30 or 40 minutes, to impact you so that you never forget it. That'd be really great for me. That somehow what you learn here, some sort of gem, some sort of nugget comes forth for you so that you can recall this conversation. We talked about the power of awareness. Yeah. Being aware is really step one. What do I mean about being aware? Well, for me, I have some morning practices that I take care of pretty much every morning, including today. And I find myself, I clear my path so that I can see myself, so that I can be a little bit more aware of what it is that I need to do. Now today, of course, I'm hit with the responsibility of leading a couple of these sessions, so I needed to be even more alert. But some of the things that we're talking about, I'm going to list for you in what we've called the Moss method. It's all built in the same idea of you can't share yourself with somebody if you don't even know who yourself is. If you're showing up as somebody to protect yourself, if you're showing up as somebody who doesn't want to be thrown out of a group, if you're showing up because you're afraid to say what it is that's important to you, or afraid, or instead saying things that maybe you don't even believe, do you realize that we have reached that stage in humanity where some of us are saying stuff that even we don't believe? Take a second and look at how absurd that is. It's beyond lying at that point. You're actually saying things, maybe not you, or maybe you, are saying things that even you don't believe, so that you won't be thrown out of the group, so you won't be embarrassed, so you won't be dismissed. An example would be agreeing with a political idea that otherwise you don't really believe in your heart. There would be some examples in that category. You may think, no, I believe like that. This is what I believe. But some people actually say things so that they can stay in the group of people that they think they want to be with. It might not be you. It's okay if it's not. It's one thing to be aware of it. It's a whole new ball game to be living it. Because when you're ready to take this stuff on, if you notice it in yourself, it's going to take what they call transformation. You're going to have to actually set down the things that you're doing that you're misaligned with and start actually doing the stuff that makes you aligned. This is no small trick. It sounds easy, right? Because I can be aware that that's what I need to do. But actually stepping in and doing it is a whole new game. Who do I get to be for other people? Who do I get to be for myself? So in the morning, I mentioned there's some things that I do. The first thing I do every morning is gratitude. Now, the first thing I do every morning is wake up in a mess, if you really want to be honest. I wake up and I'm in pain. Not physical pain, I'm in emotional pain. I don't know. I wake up, there's nails in my belly. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like, I don't want to live with this like the rest of my life or even another minute. So I got to find a way to make sense of this life that I've been given, this precious thing called life that I've woken up to on another day. I have to do something or I'm not going to get out of bed. Screw this. I'm not going to do it. So the first thing I do, because I remember that it's at least a pathway to finding a purpose, is something I call gratitude. How do I do it? I wake up in the morning, I put both hands onto my heart. And out loud, I say 10 things that I'm grateful for. And if I wake up next to my wife, which is happening most every day, she's number one on that list, just to let you know. Because I'm not going to wake her up saying something else anyway. So Alexandra, and then my cats. I have these 3 cats that are just dreams. They're just amazing. So they become either 2, 3, and 4 or number 2, depending on whether I want to go through more. And then, I might talk about the food in my fridge, or the roof over my head, or the fact that I know Schellie, or something, shows up. It is not hard to get to 10. By the way, if you have a hard time getting to 10, lower the bar. There are hundreds of reasons to be grateful. On the other hand, how long would it take us to come with 100 reasons to be depressed? I don't know, 4 minutes? If we took a break halfway through? How about 100 reasons to be really afraid? I don't know, 4 minutes, right? I mean, if we did it collectively, we could do it in 1 minute. How about 100 reasons to be anxious, 100 reasons to be distracted, 100 reasons to be awkward, 100 reasons to be purposeless? It's no shortage of reasons to be disempowered. But living a life disempowered is so unrewarding, even if it is a default. So gratitude helps me start the day in the possibility that maybe there's a reason to be here. And actually, as I sit here right now and my thoughts are running, I'm like, yeah, Fred, you're here because you're doing this right now. What a gift. What a complete honor that I get to stand in front of you and assist, or at least create the possibility of upgrading your life. Oh my God. I don't have anything better to do. So we're going to talk about the Moss method now. As I mentioned to you, we did this morning. These are the things we covered this morning on the left side. Authentic conversation, journaling, reading and listening, actually taking in from others. Gratitude. Morning sky. What I mean by that is getting out there in nature as early as possible. I walk out my back door. It's not a matter of thinking about nature, not a matter of looking out the window at nature. It's a matter of getting out there and seeing the infinite aspect, the divine aspects of what nature has to offer. That might include the garbage man across the street. It might include the squirrels or the trees or the other animals or the smells. But getting out in nature really reminds me that it's a way bigger life than in between my 2 ears and the 4 walls. Meditation. I adore meditation. I don't know that I have anything on this list more powerful than meditation. Sitting still and silent, letting my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions and my sensations go by and bringing myself back to center. There is nothing more powerful because that reminds me that I'm not those things. I just carry them with me. I love meditation. Breathing. There's several breathing tactics out there. There's Wim Hof. There's box breathing. There's 4-7-8. There's all sorts of ways. I'll be glad if you pull me aside later to let you know which ones I love. Just as a preview, Wim Hof is the one that I do. Sleeping. When I say sleep, I'm talking about sleep hygiene. How to get to sleep at night. What to do so that I can sleep. Like, do I get myself prepared enough to actually get a full night's sleep? I took a red eye here last night. That's not a perfect way to get sleep, by the way. Then pampering. Pampering is treating yourself like the queen or king you already know you are. You're not that drag, you're not that bonehead, you're not that loser that sometimes you might believe you are. You actually are a king, you are a queen. You can treat yourself like the VIP king or queen who might have visited your home, who you wouldn't dare treat as bad as you treat yourself. Actually giving yourself the manis and the petties, actually giving yourself the massages. Allowing yourself to experience the beauties of life. Going to a sauna, going to a steam bath, going to a hot tub, whatever. And then spirituality. And I don't have to talk to this group very much about spirituality, but the importance of getting aligned with a higher power can't be understated. Again, maybe one of you or two of you don't think that's the case. That's okay. Somewhere along the line, getting in touch with the idea that it's not all about you is a good idea. This is the second half of the Moss Method. The Moss Method is 20 ways to get yourself grounded into who you are so you can be that person around other people and around yourself so you don't have to deal with the pain of misalignment. You don't have to deal with presenting yourself as somebody that you're not. If you can get grounded with yourself, you can then begin to communicate. And as we've already established, communication is the most effective medicine known to mankind. Feel free to take a picture of this slide. This is the official Moss Method. Nature walks. Same kind of thing we just talked about. You know, we're getting out there and really enjoying what life has to offer. Animals. I talked about my 3 dudes. Desposito, Winston. They have never made it into a keynote, but they just did this now. Desposito, Winston, and Valentino are my 3 cats. They teach me how to live every single day. And any kind of unconditional relationship you can create with pets, if for those of you who understand that, there's just simply nothing like it. Being of service, helping anybody do anything. I mean that. Anybody, anything. You don't have to volunteer at a nursing home to call it service. It can be anything. Creative expression. I wrote a book on this. Art, music, dancing, singing, drama, cooking, writing, gardening, photography. They're all amazing ways to express yourself different than your daily method. And in that process, you can communicate sometimes more effectively with creativity than you ever could with the linearity of words. Movement. What I mean by movement, usually, any kind of movement, walking is perfect. But if we're talking about yoga or Tai Chi, Qigong, any of the non-combative martial arts, you know what I'm talking about there. It's awesome. It's just amazing, right? It almost like you can't live without it once you start doing it. Absolutely. Thank you. I want to make something clear. I've never met anybody who does all 20 of these things. So it's not like, dude, how am I going to get this done in a day? Pick 3 of them.
What's cold exposure?
I'm sorry?
What's cold exposure?
I'll get to that in a moment. So every single morning, and now it's running for 3.5 years, and including this morning, I take a cold shower. I get it. There are way worse things than taking a cold shower. And by the way, your fear of a cold shower is only because you haven't experienced it in a way. I'm telling you, you do so many things more painful than a cold shower every day that you could get it. It sounds yuck. It does. It sounds yuck for sure. The power of a cold shower, the revitalization and the renewal and the reactivation that happens for me and anyone else I know who does them is so extraordinary. Well, look, you absolutely don't have to do them. I promise. I'm not going to give you a bad grade. I'm not going to dislike you. I'm not going to disrespect you. It's all good. However, if you choose to try this, the way that I would do it is to try it for 2 seconds at the end of your shower. Do not walk into a cold shower. It's too difficult. Don't do it. But at the end of a nice, warm, soothing shower to drop 2 seconds of cold, you probably can get that done. Then you can realize whether or not it affected your day in a positive way. I guarantee it will. And if it does, maybe tomorrow you do 3 seconds. And then the next day, maybe you do 5 seconds. But you'll be the one who either expands or contracts after that point. I had no interest in doing cold showers before I did cold showers. And I suspect that the ones who haven't yet had that, again, no problem. That just can be a positive way to reconnect yourself to yourself. Nutrition. Watch what you eat. Like, be really careful. The food that they're serving us, lunch was wonderful, no problem. But the food that's out there at the grocery stores, man, it's not even edible. It's nothing food about it. It tastes good, maybe, but that's all that it is. Our tongues are stupid. Our tongues are stupid, really. We think, when we call food good, when someone says that food is good, don't you know that they're talking about how it tastes? It has nothing to do with whether they're good. It has something to do with how they taste. That's how we've translated it. So really, being as kind to yourself with what you put, how hard is it to see that what you put in your body actually becomes you? Physically, it actually does become you. Hydration. That's water. That's what we're talking about. There are other things you can hydrate yourself with, but water is what I'm talking about, pure water. And, the benchmark is something like half your body weight in ounces. That's the bench. It's a lot of water, by the way. So if you weigh 150, we're talking about 75 ounces of water. Herbal support, what that generally is like herbal teas, stuff like that. The medicinal herbal teas go a long way to really soothing yourself and putting you down to the ground as well, and then reducing toxins. What I mean by that is like no white powders, like minimizing white powders, not only cocaine and meth, but you can minimize those too. But I'm really actually talking about minimizing white sugars, granulated sugars, and flour, and cocaine and meth probably as well. So there you go with the Moss method. We talked briefly about creative expression. It is a book that I wrote. Yeah, hi. A book that I wrote called The Creative 8 that was in my video. Creative expression is just a great way to ground yourself. One of the things that happens if you're feeling lousy and you get creative is that lousiness tends to go away while you're doing it. And by the way, that leaves you a pathway away from going back. This idea of going back to the way you felt before you started being creative is really interesting. You've been released. You have a choice to go forward without being miserable. Or you can choose to go back to how you felt before you started being creative. You actually have a choice. It's not waiting in the corner to grab you. You have a choice to stay released and keep going. Creativity is extraordinary. And finally, human connection. What I'd like to ask you to consider doing, let's see, how we set on time? We're done? Oh my. Well, I'm going to go 5. Okay. 3 it is. Be present, say something real. And here's what I'm going to say. You can take a picture of this. You can get on my calendar. And since I only have 3 minutes, so go ahead if you're going to take a picture of this. This will give you my calendar where you can set up an appointment with me, set up a conversation with me. I'll be glad to talk to you, about your friends, about your family, about life, about philosophy, about sports, about whatever it is you want to talk about, whatever floated your boat during this conversation. I'd be glad to have a conversation to see if I can be of any assistance whatsoever. And then one final slide is what I want to show you. Connection is the cure. And then with respect to the Moss method, I'm going to ask you, at least in your mind, I was going to ask you to talk to the person next to you, but you get to do that on the way out of here if you like. Which one of those things in the Moss method can you commit to being part of your life? Because if you take one on, it will have a massive impact in your life. Live like this, one step at a time, and everything changes. All right, and then let me go back to one slide here. That was the same slide as you had before. But this is the one I really want to show you, and then we can call it a day. This is another QR code. And if you sign this QR code, you'll find yourself set up to go to the contact list and then to texting. And if you text me your full name and your best email from this QR code, I'm going to send you a gift. The gift's a little bit of a roadmap and an explanation of some of the things that we're talking about and how it can affect you. And I think we got to call it a day. And I have really enjoyed this. I wish it would have been more interactive. And I think we got some interaction in earlier. But again, I really wish my wish is that I would have got to know each and every one of you here. And I really appreciate your time and attention and your respect. And I wish for you also a great afternoon. And I might as well have a great life after that as well. Thank you. Human connection. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My
Thank
name
you.
is Simone Walker. I enjoyed your presentation,
Thank you.
but you said you're a psychiatrist, right?
Right.
I am looking for a psychiatrist for my sister.
Okay.
And do you take insurance as well?
No, I'm the Undoctor. I no longer work with third party at all because I have to diagnose people when I work with third parties.
Oh, okay.
So instead, I help people come off their diagnosis and come off their medications, and I give them their life back. You know,
I
actually.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
What state are you in? Or is she in?
I live in New York.
Okay, she's in New York as well?
Yeah.
I'm not licensed in New York, but when I meet people now, I don't need, in some ways, license only allows me to diagnose and medicate, and I don't do either of those things anymore, so I can be useful to anyone, anywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
It was so wonderful to meet you. Oh my gosh, you don't understand. Just that little bit for me has done more than any psychiatrist that I have ever. They only care about putting me on medication, but it's like I can feel like if I could just resolve the things that are going on with me, I probably wouldn't have to.
No,
be
you
on
definitely
it,
don't.
You know, but I've never heard a psychiatrist in real life, like seen one in person. You know what I mean? And got to really experience it. Someone saying that, you know. So you just gave me so much hope today. And
Did you get my QR code?
Yes, I did.
All right, definitely
and I
let's
sent
talk.
the text and my email too. And
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
All right, I look forward to it. And your name?
Brittany Roker.
Very beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Which one?
The ones with the send the text,
Yeah.
sending it to
Yep.
the young lady who left.
Dr. Moss, is that your phone there? Is that your phone?
My phone here?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just want to say thank you. I really enjoyed it.
I know you did. I saw you over there. I appreciate it. I really appreciate. Did you get, why don't you get this QR code up there?
Well, actually, I took some notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get the QR code and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, I'll do it for her. Yeah, I need to. Yeah.
Actually, let me give you that one. And that one, if I can get her, what I want from this one is her favorite. You go to the contacts and then send text.
Okay.
Okay. And then in that text, if we can get her her full name, the send text,
Okay.
and then full name and best email on that text. All right. And then let's go to the other one. The other one is setting up a call, which I think might be really good.
Probably better.
All right, let me get to that real quick.
Probably better than the email.
Most of the stuff that you talked about actually saved my life.
What's that?
It actually saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, because
This one?
Yep.
I was rehab nurse, and I worked in the Rest Institute. And when 9/11 come, I was a supervisor. I was on my way out the door.
I hear you. I'm glad you're still
I
here.
made it to the door, but I had to turn around. The security came right outside. Where you going? Where you going? You got to come back.
You wanna get to the main
Oh,
one.
boy.
Do you need anything, Dr. Moss?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna walk her over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Thank you.